All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Only Conspiracies. Nothing but bangers this weekend on Rockfin. Just giving you the good stuff, gave you a deep conspiracy rewind and AMA. And here we are, Only Conspiracies. He's got a great podcast called the Juan to Juan podcast. Please welcome Juan Ayala. Did I get it right?
It's Juan on Juan, but yeah, close enough, Sam. You
God
always
dang
get
it, bro. Juan on Juan. Come on, bro. I'm trying.
it's all good. I was on Only Conspiracies number 15 and tinfoil hat 615. 15 isn't the best number, but here we are. I don't know which one this one is,
Well,
but
we'll make it a 15. We'll just make up a number.
I'll make up a number. Yeah, I'm
I
ready,
love
man.
it. How
What's
are
up?
you, buddy?
Doing all right? How you been?
I'm alive. People like me. I'm 50 with a zit on my nose, but besides that, I cannot complain, brother. I like your
Awesome.
hat. It's a
Thank
nice
you.
hat.
Thank you.
So, for our listeners who may not be familiar with your many appearances on the Tinfoil Hat, network, we'll call it, across the spectrum of my shows. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where our listeners can find you?
So I'm a father, regular guy, husband, whatever you want to call it, and I am a researcher, and I like to learn about interesting stuff. My show is about really symbolism. I focus on the occult, alchemy, magic, and really any esoteric subject underneath that umbrella. And I really, again, go down the symbolism is I'm real big on that, and really anything that I find interesting. So whatever I find interesting, it's what I talk about. It's what I research. I put it out. People like it. They like it. If not, then it is what it is.
Well, I think you're great, dude. I think you're great at it. What about Nicolas Cage being a time traveler?
Absolutely. He's an immortal alchemist. 100%. He is a wizard. Yeah.
Oh,
100%.
you in on that? Because I'm in on that.
I'm in on that, bro.
I think
Yeah.
his movie. I have a really good joke about how his movies tell us everything that the elites are up to.
His uncle has a quote that says the early people in cinema were the equivalent to magicians. Again, I'm paraphrasing that, but he
That's
has,
fine.
yeah, one of the Coppolas has cinema and magic are the same thing pretty much. So, and I think that's what they're doing. The world to stage and what we're going to be talking about today has, I think, plays a role into all this because they use movies at the forefront of it all. And I think that life imitates art, and that these guys that are writing this stuff, right, they might know something that's like a Freudian slip where it gets ingrained into their work. Maybe they might not want it to happen, but it ends up happening. So definitely plays a role into what we're going to be talking about.
What we're going to discuss is the Titanic submarine. I'm very excited about this because I just it's like I'm about to drop some episode on Tuesday that is basically Trump's not good and RFK Jr.'s not good, and we're gonna have I'm expecting a bunch of people freaking lose it and be I don't know, man. The swarm's really great. They're actually kind of open-minded. But it's just I see a bunch of people just getting tired of everybody like not being like a false prophet, right? They're just
Mhm.
like, oh man, I can't trust this guy. It's like, and I get it because like we're animals and mammals tend to run in packs and we're looking for a leader. And it's not, and we just keep getting duped. So I don't know why anyone would take anything RFK Jr. says without being in karate stance, and it's just like with hands up, ready to kick to the nuts. And so we're gonna drop that big. I just think everything's a show, man. And this Titanic submarine is no different to me. So where do you want to start?
So I got a presentation that we can get through, and I'm just gonna present. Sam, I don't know how many times something has to happen for it to stop being a coincidence, and I'm just gonna present to you some things, and you tell me what you think. If I'm reaching, not reaching, whatever. So I don't know if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I see one to one start sharing. There we go. So it's coming up. There we go.
So I ended up doing a few videos. The first, I ended up sharing this meme on TikTok on Twitter, and it ended up doing pretty well. I got a whole bunch of engagement, like 60,000 people viewed it, whatever. And people were losing their minds because me being a guy that is always looking at alchemical symbolism and looking at different plates and just various ancient books, certain symbols pop out to me. Okay, certain things pop out to me. So I thought it was funny because where attention goes, energy flows. Mind you, William Shakespeare said the world's a stage. So when they are putting this stuff in the media and pumping it out in front of everybody, you got to question what's going on. And it's usually some sort of ritual that's happening. So I put this out. We made a couple videos. The first one got collectively over 100,000 views. It was shared everywhere. A whole bunch of people were sending it to me. That websites were posting it. Other YouTube channels were posting it. It did pretty well. So you can find me on YouTube. And then we did a part 2. You can find me on YouTube. Yeah, you can find me on YouTube.
Good for you, bro. Good for you.
Podcast.
Getting on YouTube. Look at you.
So Twitter, I had shared it, got this here, had 57,000 views. So whatever, this simple meme. I was practicing my meme magic, right? Just spreading it out there.
I like that.
So this is the OceanGates, right? Titan submersible. And then this is King Solomon Shamir. Now, I'm doing research on what we're calling Illuminati worms, and the idea, again, it's a whole nother episode, but I was researching worms and this comes up, right? And yeah, find me on One-on-One Podcast on YouTube. So the Shamir was a worm or substance that had the power to cut or disintegrate stone, iron, and diamond. And it was allegedly given to King Solomon by the Prince of Demons, Asmodeus. Okay. So he made like this deal with the Prince of Demons and was like, all right, I'm going to give you this thing. Now, the Shamir was meant to have always been wrapped in wool and stored in a container made of lead. Any other vessel would burst and disintegrate under the Shamir's gaze. Now, a submersible is a type of vessel. A boat is a vessel. An airplane is a vessel, right? These are all vessels. And I think what they're trying to do, Sam, is literally transmutate reality itself. Now, this is Solomon's Shamir. Okay, he used it for the building of the temple. After the temple was destroyed, allegedly it went away and it lost, right? Look, at the hands of Nebuchadnezzar. So again, this is connected biblically. So now, when I was looking at this, I didn't think anything of it. I was literally trolling, Sam. And then I stared down the rabbit hole or the wormhole, whatever, and I opened up a can of worms, no pun intended. So Asmodeus told Solomon that the Shamir was given by God to the angel of the sea. We know that they were lost at sea.
Yeah.
So we have this connection to the sea, the submarine that supposedly, allegedly imploded. Now, Tartarus, right? The Titans were hurled down by Zeus and imprisoned in a cavity beneath Tartarus. Okay, so below a cavity beneath Tartarus. So these Titans were sent down, right, to the abyss. We have this story that is about the wreck of the Titan from 1896. And it was about a ship that struck an iceberg. And this predated the Titanic.
Oh, snaps.
And they had republished it in 1912, right? 2 years before the sinking of the Titanic. And it's again, you can't make this up. And I think that there's something about when you write things down, it solidifies. And I call it interdimensional literature, where they write these things down. And if you look at the Bible or you look at any religious scripture, right, it changes people's paradigms. It changes people's lives. And they're practicing a form of magic, right? Because the word grammar comes from grimoire. And what's a grimoire? A book of spells. I mean, that's etymology 101. That's not a conspiracy. That's real life. So we have this, right, the wreck of the Titanic or futility, and it's about, again, a ship that strikes an iceberg and sinks years before the Titanic.
Yeah.
And coincidentally enough, right, the Titan was the name of the boat in this story. So life imitates art. Now, moving along, we have tribute paid to the Titan 5 killed in the catastrophic implosion. Now, 5, right, the pentagram, it's a sort of technology that's used to project ideas into the aether. I've heard it put before. Now we have Hamish Harding, Shadaza Dawood, Suleiman Dawood, Paul Henry Nargilea, and Stockton Rush. Now, billionaire, son of the billionaire, millionaire, I guess, super wealthy. And we're going to get into this guy in particular. So I broke these guys down and I was like, okay, all right, let's see what the coincidences are that we run into. So Suleiman is the Arabic version of Solomon, right? The Islamic prophet Solomon. So again, back to Solomon's Shamir. All right, that's pretty weird. Then Dawood, the father and the son, Dawood translates to David. Biblically, David was the father of Solomon, and quite literally, they have the father of Solomon. His last name is David, and Shahzada means king's son or prince, king's son. So
Damn.
again, their names are all linked to. It might be it's a coincidence. I don't know what
It's
to say, Sam.
crazy.
I don't know what to say, but it gets weirder, Sam. It gets weirder. Okay, the more you look, right, the more you peer into the abyss, the abyss will start peering in, back at you. So I'm going along, minding my own business, and we have James Cameron, JC, right, 13, went
Yeah.
down to the Titanic wreckage 33 times.
There we
Okay.
go. There's the number.
Now, this guy brags about how he spent more time with the Titanic than the actual captain itself himself, right? And only 333 bodies were ever
Oh,
recovered from
come
the
on, bro.
Titanic.
Come on, bro.
I promise you, like you can't make this stuff up. Now,
That's so crazy.
the discovery of the Titanic was on by mistake, allegedly, right? It was discovered 37 years ago. It wasn't that long ago. Now, it was by these two guys that were conducting a secret mission for the Navy, and the Navy they sponsored them and said, hey, listen, you can develop these two rovers, if you will, these unmanned submarines. You can use them for whatever you want, as long as you, again, on the condition that there was to be used to carry out a number of programs, many still classified for the Navy. So they stumbled across the Titanic wreckage by accident. And before that, there was a guy who was looking for the entrance to Hollow Earth, who was looking for Atlantis, who was looking for the Loch Ness, also looking for the Titanic. So they never knew where it was exactly. And then they just happened to stumble across it, looking for two other submarines that had imploded during the Cold War, I believe, under mysterious circumstances. Again, similar to this was a mysterious circumstance. So I'm going
Yeah.
along. You have James Cameron, JC. Oh, the humanity. I wish I would have spoke out against how jerry rigged this submarine was. I knew the guy. I told him not to keep doing this, whatever. So they keep on going. Now, James Cameron, right? Aliens of the Deep. He wrote this whole thing. And I'm Jim Cameron. Here's the deal. I love this stuff. Exploration world. He goes, these deep sea ocean explorations always seem like space missions to me. So why not combine outer space and inner space? So now we're getting into the idea of maybe perhaps at the bottom of the oceans, we have access to, again, outer space. We don't, the way that you look at this sort of stuff in the movies, you have Pacific Rim where the kaiju are coming from the bottom of the Mariana Trench through portals. Recently I was reading an article where in the Pacific Ocean, there's a magnetic anomaly that's got like a hole at the bottom of the ocean, sucking the bottom of the floor of the ocean in towards itself. Really weird. So you
That
have
is
James,
weird.
that's bizarre, right? So we have James Cameron. He's been to the bottom of the Mariana Trench, the deepest part of the ocean that's been recorded. Now,
He's been there himself?
he's been there himself. He did a whole movie on it. This dude, one thing about James Cameron is that he does specialize in submarines. The dude's legit when it comes to submarines. Okay. So he's been to the bottom of the Mariana Trench. Now, me being this occult researcher, there are certain religions that they believe, the Shugendo tribe in specific, in again, I believe it's Japan, they would worship mountains. Now, they believe that by climbing these mountains, they would acquire special powers, right? Supernatural powers. They could shapeshift, they could do various things. Now, if you think of why the elites want to climb Mount Everest, Crowley was a mountaineer, right? A lot of elites are always trying to climb mountains. Well, whenever they show you the bottom of the Mariana Trench, they always go, what's the depth of an inverted Mount Everest? We know that they always want to invert things and pervert them. So if I'm going to achieve special powers by going up the mountain, what happens when I go down into the depths in the abyss of the earth? What kind of powers am I going to get from that? So again, mind you, use that concept and combine it with a graveyard, the Titanic, and you got a recipe for something very powerful. So we're going to start cooking with gas here soon because it gets
we're
better.
already cooking with gas.
So the French billionaire, right? Mr. Titanic, right? Known by P.H. Nargiliet, or simply P.H. Mr. Titanic. And check this out. He helped a private company excavate 5,000 artifacts from the Titanic. Part of a controversial deep sea expedition. They were retrieving the last voice of the Morse code machine that sent out the last coordinates of the Titanic. They were retrieving that. They compared them to high-tech grave robbers, right? They've collected shaving kits to chandeliers. And now, this is interesting for me because I study talismans and the idea how you can acquire something. And I've noticed that the more traumatic the history of the talisman, the more powerful it is. So think about it. 1,500 to 1,800 people lost their lives in the Titanic, if you want to believe mainstream history, right? So again, this is on that same article, Journey to an Unknown Planet. They're describing going down towards the Titanic, excavating the shipwreck, grave robbery, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the word talisman, any object ascribed with religious or magical powers intended to protect, heal, or harm individuals. And it comes from French talisman via Arabic. So again, this guy was French, and it translates to I complete, perform a rite. Now, the use of talisman uses numbers. It's a way of using numbers. So think about the date, the coordinates, the sum of all the people's names that died on there, the amount of people that died, because reality, that's why they revere Pythagoras, the 47th proposition, and all these different things, because all is number. And I think that they use gematria and all these things to glitch the matrix being this reality that when whatever it is, right? You have James Cameron, JC, Jesus Christ, 13, 10, and 3. You have 33 times. You have 333 bodies. So all these numbers, right? They line up. Now, right? They use the work with talismans, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the Simpsons had an episode 17 years ago, and everybody was freaking out about this because they kind of sort of, right? This character's name was Mason.
Yeah.
And it was Homer looking for his father, and this guy ended up being, right, becoming his father and this whole thing. But right, low oxygen, Homer gets stuck in some rock. Now, this guy here, Mike Reese, was a producer for that episode. Okay. And it's interesting because this Mike Reese guy, right, former passenger on Titan submersible, says you have to sign a waiver that mentions death 3 times on the first page. So it's never far from your mind. That's interesting. Who said that? Oh, Mike Reese. Okay, so the guy that produced that episode.
Whoa.
Here he is right here on his Twitter. Mike Reese, writer, Simpsons. Here he is in the sub that imploded at the bottom, looking at the Titanic wreckage. Okay, so what are the chances that the same guy who produced that episode 17 years ago just happened to, again, very similar. Homer gets stuck, low oxygen, how we had originally been told, et cetera, et cetera. Now, again, maybe that's just another coincidence, Sam. I don't know. It just, I'll rule it off as a coincidence. Here he is.
No, that is crazy.
And I have 33 slides, by the way. That's weird too. So we have this Mike Reese guy. Now, the other conspiracy was that they were trying to cut the internet cables underneath the ocean. Now, I overlaid a map of where the Titanic is and where a lot of these cables run past. Now, again, this is a rough estimate, but again, not too far-fetched, because a lot of people were saying this as well, that while this was going on, there were actually, again, the Titanic was found by accident during a secret Navy mission. Now, when you tell me that, I'll tell you, no, portals at the bottom of the ocean, Godzilla, whatever. You know, that's what I'm thinking, right? We're cooking with gas, King Kong, Skull Island, going through Hollow Earth. I love all that stuff.
I'm for all of
that. So that's what I'm thinking. Now, while all this is popping off, we have the Wagner group, right? Popping off a coup with Putin. Now, Wagner is in Goes, and I know that's not how you say it, so before anybody corrects me, it's Gautier or something like that. Faust. And the point being that Faust was, right, the Faustian pact, the deal with the devil, right? The infamous deal with the devil. That's where that comes from. And again, the idea that King Solomon.
Is that a baby in the fire?
That's a homunculus. Remember episode 615?
Oh, yeah.
That was a homunculus. So Faust in the Goethe story, he makes a homunculus. Now we have Wagner here, right? Again, weird name, who is trying to, in the story, Faust is trying to be like, Wagner is trying to be like Faust, right? Faust being Putin, and Wagner trying to be like his master. He steals his grimoire in the story and then make a little homunculus. Here is in the vessel, right? The Stockton Rush, and with the help of Satan. So this parallels the Shamir story, where Solomon makes a pact with the prince of demons, right? The prince of hell, for this Shamir. So again, I drew a parallel here. Shout out to Slick Dissident. He's the one that inspired this. But going along, right? They were also, while all this is going on and they're distracting the world, cell cultured chicken gets final green light from USDA. So while all this is going down, Sam, they pass the bill for them to sell us synthetically grown chicken. Okay. They can sell us cloned meat now. Okay. Now, think of this, where we're talking about the homunculus. This is at the heels of this. This is June 15th. This is June 21st. At the heels of synthetic human embryo raises ethical issues. Well, they were debating this issue back in the 15th century. This is nothing new. Okay. When they were making homunculus and arguing about if the homunculus has or doesn't have a soul. Okay. They were talking about this. So now, are these real people? Now, your idea of the world being some sort of haunted house and some people being there for texture. Well, now this is a possibility with this synthetic humans that don't need a mother and don't need a father to be born. Do those people have souls? Will they have a social security number? Will they pay taxes? What happens if we sacrifice them? You know what I'm saying? Like what this is
crazy.
This is a haunted house. So it gets better, Sam. Okay. So while this is all going out, they're trying to distract us from this. Okay. Now going along, this is a meme that we made on this episode, right? We have him here. During all this, mind you, it's the solstice, right? The Titanic sunk during the winter solstice. And now the solstices is when, right, the sun is powering, the summer solstice, the sun is powering for 3 days, right? Stand still. It's powering the earth. Now they say that around these times, and this is where tax day is, by the way, right? The X marks the spot, tax day. Now the solstice, they say that these are where sacrifices happen because the veil is thinner, right? The veil is thinner. And again, around these areas.
Yep.
And this is the Crowley Tarot deck, and this is one of my favorite cards in it. And it's, again, it's got inscribed up here, hidden, occulted. It has Abra Hadabra, right? With that comes from abracadabra. I speak, therefore I create. Now, if you take a look at this, it looks like a portal or something. Well, if you look at the implosion diagram, it kind of looks similar because that was the narrative that they pushed after the fact. No, they were running out of air for 3 days, right? The symbolic 3 days. And then after the fact, James Cameron comes out and goes, yeah, I've known that they were dead since Sunday, right? They imploded, right? They were gone automatically. And now, as of recently, a couple of days ago, they pulled up the wreck that supposedly had to be disintegrated, but yet they're pulling up like a dismantled submarine.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing just reeks of psyop.
Oh, the controller I was controlled by an Xbox controller was $33 on Logitech. I saw
What?
33.99. I got a picture here somewhere. Yeah, 33.99. I don't know if you can see that, but 33.99.
Oh my God.
That was the controller that
99 is 333s too.
Yeah, exactly. So again, maybe that's a coincidence, Sam, but going along here, there's something about
on
the Crowley
June
deck.
3rd. I mean,
Yeah.
what was that? July 3rd? Oh man, it's so crazy, dude.
So we have here right the mirroring. I think that Crowley was really tapped into something when it comes to reality, and I think that he reflects it in his tarot deck. So going along here, and mind you, Cancer represents the portals, by the way, right? The portal, right? The 69 is the portal. Now we have, right, the brazen bull. They were we were first told that they were suffocating to death. And back then they would put people in these bowls and torture them until they would suffocate. They would quite literally burn alive. Now, do you know what this symbol is, Sam?
It looks like a coyote of something.
No. This is the symbol to something that you might be familiar with. This is a symbol that, right, the Bohemian Club.
Okay. What?
Now, do you know who this is?
Holy shit, you're right.
No. I know I'm right. This Stockton Rush, the CEO, was a regular at the Bohemian Grove.
Oh my!
It doesn't stop there, though, Sam. It doesn't stop there. Okay, right? Bohemian Grove guest list 2008. Richard Dick Stockton Rush III, right, on the 2008 list. He was a regular there, just hanging out with Donald Rumsfeld. I'm sure that they were just bros, right? They were just hanging out, not really doing anything. But it gets even better.
Dude, this is insane.
Stockton Rush wasn't just some regular Joe Schmo, Sam. He was born into two illustrious American families. He was related to Dr. Benjamin Rush and Richard Stockton, two signers of the Declaration of Independence. Okay.
Whoa.
Okay. So he has descendants that signed the Declaration of Independence. Okay. Not just any regular guy. We're talking about 1776. His family members were there signing away. Okay. Birthing the homunculus that is the United States of America into existence. Okay. Now, his father, Stockton Rush Sr., was president-elect of the infamous Bohemian Club. He was the president of the
Whoa.
Bohemian Club. Now, allegedly, he was a comedian at the Bohemian Grove. And
What?
there's a quote saying that he would boast about never telling the same joke twice. So here he is hanging out in the woods, running around naked with his bros, probably, right, burning the effigy and all this stuff. Okay. And what are the chances that this is all going on at the center of the stage of the world? Okay, of the world. Now, the wife's CEO, Stockton's wife, she is related. So Wendy Rush is related to Isidore and Ida Strauss. And of course, right, Reuters corrected this, that JP Morgan had sunk the Titanic to get rid of his competition, being Isidore Strauss, right?
Of
But
course they did.
Bavarian born, okay? Bavarian born. I'm just gonna say that, okay? Bavarian born. And the conspiracy goes that I've seen going around the internet was that, right, JP Morgan sunk, because this is all tied to the Federal Reserve, something that we use today. Okay, money. It was birthed from allegedly the sinking of the Titanic. It was three people who opposed the Federal Reserve were on the Titanic. JP Morgan was supposed to go. Last minute, he pulled out. And allegedly, the reason that they don't want people now, because now they're going to be passing legislature and more rules for people not to be going down to these depths, because only initiates can go down there. If you got the money, you can go. Now they're going to be stricter on that, because the conspiracy goes that they don't want you to see the history that they were presented to you was wrong. And
Yeah,
instead
for
of
sure.
the iceberg hitting and caving in the side of the Titanic, no, it came from the inside out, because they exploded the front of the Titanic and actually sunk it on purpose. So now they're saying that they don't want people going down there, so they don't investigate and figure out the truth, which might not happen, because the Titanic, there's a special bacteria that's actually eating the Titanic away. Right? There's a bacteria that's only present on the Titanic that's quite literally eating the Titanic away. It's not the ocean, it's a bacteria that's slowly eating it away. And they're saying by 2030 it'll be gone.
What?
So yeah, by 2030 it'll be gone. Now, let me make sure, that was the last slide, but I don't know, Sam. I mean, I think that Mr. Beast was supposed to be on there. Last minute, he pulled out.
What?
And yeah, Mr. Beast was supposed to go. He got invited onto that. He tweeted about it. Was supposed to go on that submersible. Pulled out. Never went. And so that the Dawood guy, he is the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar fertilizer company. Well, now him and his heir are dead. And allegedly, from what I've seen on the internet, so it's got to be true, saying that he wanted to give people free energy. Right. So he's on the board of the World Economic Forum too, by the way. He was supposedly trying to pass legislation to give people free energy. Well, we know what happened to Nikola Tesla.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
who stopped Nikola Tesla? JP Morgan stopped Nikola Tesla. Why? Because he couldn't monetize free energy. You can't do that. No. So we're going to go with the guy, Thomas Edison, who's going to be our little, puppet and do whatever we want. And he's going to follow the rules. And therefore, if you follow the rules, then you're in the club with us. Otherwise,
That's
you're going to be
crazy,
silent.
dude.
So,
And they also said that the fertilizer guy is the guy that had his fertilizer, like all those tons of fertilizer just disappeared and stolen, that he was connected to that.
I mean, I wouldn't doubt it, Sam, but it's like I'm saying, if let's say that, I'll go even as far to say that maybe these dudes faked their death. I mean, we see this in movies all the time.
Dude, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I don't even know if any of this is real. Meaning not that your information isn't real, but the event.
Yeah,
I, nothing to me says that this actually happened, and this was just a giant
loosh
shift
farming.
focused
Yeah.
smoke screen, so we didn't pay attention to everything going on right now. I
Yeah.
100% would believe that. I mean, the way it just was like when something's everywhere all at once, and even with like the death of, you know, mainstream news, for some reason, it's still viable in the fact that now it's changed where it's no longer, hey, go and watch this show on tele. Now it's like clip it up and it just gets disseminated all over the place. It's almost
Mhm.
more effective that way now.
100%.
Uh, I,
But that's
like,
because people's attention spans, Sam, are they've been diluted. So people can only stay focused, right? TikTok, 30 seconds, a minute, 3 minutes at a time. They can't take, right? They can't be I think movies are becoming less effective as we go on because our attention spans keep getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And it's like you have kids. I mean, a 5-year-old can't stay still for more
yeah,
than what,
it's
10,
chaos,
10
bro.
minutes at a
It's
time.
chaos. You're like, sit down now, and you're like, okay, well, I can't
They don't give
tell
a
you what to
damn.
do. You know, I can't touch you. So you're
Mhm,
just like there's no reason. You
mhm.
know, I mean, my mother gives me advice all the time on how to raise my daughters. I'm like, you used to be able to beat us. What are you
Yeah,
talking about?
with
You
hoses
could
and
commit
sandals.
felonies and not go to jail.
No, absolutely. So I think that that's part of it by them chopping it up and really putting it out there. It becomes
Well,
it's almost
also, if you kind of take a look at like right around this time, there's been nothing but stories about people dying in the water. The kid jumping
the
in
age of
with the
Aquarius. Yeah.
shark,
Mhm.
another guy just getting eaten by a shark on vacation in like Turkey or something like that. So all these stories start to come out. So you start going, and Eddie Bravo says this all the time. How many movies take place in like how many horror movies take place in the woods? How many horror movies take place in small cities? How many times are they like don't go in the water? Like
Mhm.
what is it? Like why don't they want us to go in the water? What is in the water? And I forget the name of the movie, but it was a movie about a guy
I
who
mean,
was,
James Cameron, Sam, the way of the Avatar, the way of the water. I mean,
yeah,
it,
100%. But
he
it was
literally
that
made that
movie. I
movie.
forget the name of the movie where this guy who was like an average Joe, not doing well, somehow was frozen for years and he comes back and now he's the smartest guy. And it's not Idiocracy, it's another one. But, anyways, he starts seeing that he goes, in the movies, they're making horror and making birth seem like it's like a horror film. So people stop having children, which is hilarious because not hilarious in an awful way, because that's literally what's happening right now
Mhm.
with our depopulation going on, the way they're trying to make it so people don't want to have kids anymore. And
Yeah.
again, Bill Gates with the overpopulation bullshit. It's like, no, that's not actually what's happening. We're having a giant depopulation problem because you've convinced these women not to have children.
Yeah, look
That
at
they
China now. Supposedly they're having
No,
an
in
issue.
America, dude, we're down 20% in America.
We're down 20%.
Because and you kind of take a look at like what's happening, like the war on women, and you could just never explain this to women, from birth control to feminism to OnlyFans. Everything's just done to get them to stop having children.
Mhm.
And it's working. And now you have all these women who are what they would call high value in terms of like intelligence, who go to school, who would produce intelligent children. They're not having kids. And now you have all these chicks built like Vikings that for some reason, if you have big chi-chis and a fat ass, you got to do OnlyFans. Now that's low vibrational. And now those women aren't going to do anything, and they're not going to be any part. No high value man's going to want an OnlyFans girl. I mean, look at like this Adam 22, who's just I think he has
Getting
this,
cucked.
yeah,
Yeah.
he has this giant Clinton connection. You know that, right? Like I always knew
No.
something was up with that guy, because like he's like doing all this like filthy ass like YouTube content, and you're
Mhm.
not getting shut down by actually blowing up. And then you find out that his father was got found guilty of election fraud, and the Clintons basically pardoned him. That's how he got out. So he has deep
Wow.
ties to the Clintons and to the Democratic Party. So this is, and that, now his wife is like this, it's always like this projection. I remember first noticing this when I was like, I don't know, like in my 30s. And I remember like Jennifer Aniston coming out going, I know if I want to have a child, I don't need a man to help me raise it. You're like, what? I remember going, why would you say that? You have millions of dollars and most women don't have that. And then you had like 17 and pregnant. And then you had the Kardashians. And all this is a projection of like, live risky, don't worry about it, done by very rich people or people who you see on television, which gives the
Mhm.
allure of being successful and famous. So yeah, it's like all this giant. I'm just into this kind of crazy place right now where it's like, who knows anything that's real?
Yeah. No,
Who knows?
and that's the thing, Sam. One of the things that trips me out is I don't know if it's a scripted reality and they're following a script, or if it right if the simulation falls into place by itself. Because again, all these coincidences that I presented to you, right? I mean, let's not call them conspiracies. Let's call them coincidences. I mean, what are the chances that all that lines up exactly like that?
Yeah,
And
I'm with you,
and this
dude.
is information that you can find you can pull all these articles up and it's there, right? If you look hard enough, it's there. Now, is it pareidolia where if you look hard enough, right, the clouds start to morph one into another? Or is it something that is influencing reality for this to happen, right? And then we get into the whole, do entities control the reality, or is it God that's controlling the reality and these people know about it? Or are they making pacts with the devil, right? Like we have the whole Knights Templar and Baphomet talking to something outside space and time, influencing them and telling them secrets of the universe and all these different things. Like, is it which is it? You know what I'm saying? Because it's too on point for it to be organic. I feel it's too coincidental for it to just happen on its own. It's got to be some. What if, right, the creature of Jekyll Island that came forth from this Titanic thing? Hey, they need a sacrifice every so often. After it was 111 years from when this happened that the Titanic sank. So it's like, what if these guys got together and were like, hey, every so often we got to give it a one or two lives. Let's give them five this time around. Let's go ahead and
I
make it look
just
like an
don't.
accident.
There's so like every once in a while I would like to look up like if we found the guy's name, one of the guy's names, look up funeral services. How often do you actually find a funeral service for any
Mhm.
of these people ever?
Yeah, no, it could again, they could, because I also believe that, right, relating to the homunculus, they're able to, what I feel is, extract their consciousness and put it into another vessel, Sam. I mean, I believe that's how many they say Joe Biden is a clone. They say that, name whatever artist that you want that supposedly, right, even Kevin Hart, all these guys supposedly are clones. And then we have this news of synthetic humans being grown. We have shows like Altered Carbon where they switch over their consciousness from one body to the next. I mean, the truth is stranger than fiction. This is what they're putting out to us in the exoteric. But the esoteric stuff that they don't show the public, I mean, they're years ahead of us, right? The technology is years ahead of what they've been showing us. And maybe they put this stuff, right, just a tip to see what kind of reaction they get. Okay. Because also, Greer was, right, we have the whole UFO narrative too on top of all of this. Greer was talking about how the typical lure of abductions and cattle mutilations is actually a man-made synthetic humanoid that's doing that for the government. So I'm like, okay, that's at the same time that the whole synthetic humans, are they getting ready to tell us that, right? They're saying that some alien grays are real and then other ones are synthetically made. Like what is going on? What is happening? And if you
It's
think of
so
that,
deep.
Sam, if you think of the homunculus concept, which is part of MK Ultra, which Crowley wrote about, if they're able to make a synthetic human and invoke a spirit into it and sacrifice that human, right? Because the power of sacrifice is very powerful, and reenact all these ancient stories of sacrificing and Set against his other brother and Enki and Enlil killing each other. If they can recreate that with these archetypal symbols, I mean, they can continue to control reality, because that's essentially what magic is, the manipulation of symbols. Like Baphomet, that combination of symbols put together invokes a feeling in people that drives them insane. They fucking lose their minds when they see that sign. It's that combination of things put together that will, right, extract. Like if you tell somebody the right words, you can sell them anything. You know what I'm saying? Like it's alchemy. It's all the manipulation of people's realities. And I think
No,
that's what's
I
going
agree
on.
with that, dude. I
You know
totally
what I
agree
mean?
with that. Yeah. It's kind of crazy, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
kind of crazy.
Yeah. So again, I think it might just be a one big coincidence, Sam, but I don't think so. And I think that this was again another distraction, maybe perhaps, right? When the Titanic happened, we had a reformation of our financial system, and maybe they might be getting ready to push this whole crypto stuff, whatever, the Fed dollar, whatever it's called nowadays, and they're getting ready to again collapse a paradigm, because people have to understand that when you, what if we imploded that submarine by everyone focusing in on that one place at the bottom of the ocean? We imploded them, if that's what they're saying happened. But you have to understand that in sigil magic, part of the burning of the sigil, the destruction of the sigil is part of the process. So when they destroy the Georgia Guidestones, when they blow up the balloon on Myrtle Beach on the 33rd parallel off the coast of Myrtle Beach, after everyone already charged it for 3 days, right? And they focused on the bottom of the ocean on this Titan submersible for 3 days, and it imploded in on itself. That's the destruction of the sigil right there. That's already been implanted in everyone's subconscious. And we know that the subconscious is a very powerful thing in the occult.
Yeah, for
So
sure, bro. It's
100%
for
it's a ritual,
sure.
man.
I have this a lot of stuff that I'm going through. I want to read the Bible just to see what that book has to say. But I'm also like, I just have this guest. We're going to drop it after this on Tuesday. But it's a lot of, like talking about the woo woo and the new age and how so much of it is, its roots is funded by the Rockefellers. So, like, what does that say?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, so like I don't know if you ever get to the center of the rotten onion. I just don't think you'll ever. I don't think
God, Sam.
God is it.
God.
But
That's what
but
people don't want to admit.
no, I got no, dude. I'm a
Love and
God
light,
all day,
bro.
dog.
God.
Big G, God.
Yeah.
Love
Yeah.
God all day, all day. But the question is, what is our connection with God? What is it? And how's it go? And that to me is the question I'm in right now, because there's a lot of things like, like law of attraction, law of abundance, these things that I've practiced in my life that brings high vibrational energy to me. So I'm
Mhm.
like, is that it? Is that it? Or is it just straight like Christianity and that stuff? And I have some people who live their life based on that. Then there's, I got this guy, Ian Ferguson, on. He's talking about there's Moloch. I
Yeah, I
found
heard
out
that
Moloch
before.
is in the Bible. So that's an interesting thing. Moloch. And then there's Lucifer, who's a false bearer of light. Then there's people who talk about how Baphomet has been like just like everything inverted. So it's like, and I don't know what the answer is, but I enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
I just don't know how far my listeners are willing to go in trying to discover it. And if at the end of the day, if there is ever a definitive answer.
I think right out of all the hours that I've spent in the occult, I've translated books from the 15th century, from the 14th century, and everything. The more you look into it, the less you know. And I've noticed that in this conspiracy community, there is always going to be the opposite of whatever you think, Sam. There's going to be somebody with the inverted idea, and that's what started it for me, because I did come up from a religious household, Pentecostal. It's like hardcore. A lot of people don't know that, but Pentecostal Christian, where they speak in tongues, they jump around, they do backflips, they do everything, they faint, they do all this craziness. I went from that, and when I started to read the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Nag Hammadi Library, and all these different things, and I go, wait a minute, the Gospel of Judas, Judas is the good guy in that story. That's not what I've been told my whole entire life growing up. So when I start to ask the hard questions, oh, hey, why did they keep the book of Enoch out of it? What does the book of Enoch have? And why is it referenced in the canon, but it's non-canonical. But then the Ethiopic version has, and like all these questions. I don't think Christianity, maybe, I'm not going to say Christianity, I'm going to say organized religion, not to pinpoint anybody out. I don't think that they have the answers. If anything, they present to you an exoteric, right? The whatever the mainstream is, and they'll interpret it for you. They'll chew it up and they'll feed it to you like that. But I mean, at the core of it all, Sam, I mean, the at the core of everything, after everything's been said and done, it's God and love, man. You know that feeling you got when you first saw your kids? You know that feeling? You know what I'm talking
Yes.
about? That feeling that you got when you first saw your kids. It's that feeling you can't describe it. It's just this crazy. I've been told by occultists that's what they're thriving for. I mean, that love or whatever you want to call it, whatever it is, that one feeling you can't describe, that's what they're searching for that entire time. And all the studies that I've done and all the hours I put in, it always goes back to God, man. You know what I'm saying? Like the light. That's it. You can't, you stare into the abyss too long, and the abyss will start to stare back into you.
Yeah, it's crazy, dude. It's crazy. I'm interested in it all, man. I'm
Oh, me too.
interested in it
I'm a
all.
researcher, I'm
And
open
what
to everything. And I'm looking for, I enjoy researching. I think it's a very interesting, and just the idea that these are concepts, Sam, that the occult is a thing, that the paranormal is a thing, that alchemists are writing in codes and these weird drawings and illustrations, like the fact that that's even a concept and part of history, that interests me. That is what's so interesting, that it's something. Now, was it real or not? I don't know. I don't have the answer to that for you. And that's I think what everyone's searching for. And I think people quite literally drive themselves insane trying to search for that.
I agree, man. I don't know, man. My whole life, my instincts, I mean, you could say whatever my career is compared to some of my contemporaries, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. But man, I'm just like I really trusted my instincts for a very long time, and my instincts is tell me what you're saying, God and love and all that stuff. But I'm just again interested in hearing it. But when I hear these stories, I know that there are dark arts occultists out there committing, people hate the term black magic, but it's
Mhm.
just like it's what's your intentions.
It's the
And
force, Sam. You use it for good or you use it for evil.
yeah, and so it's like all these amazing researchers I have on, and I talk about this all the time. Like, man, you get so angry because you don't understand like why they do what they do, and it just always it comes down to that, man. They worship a dark demon, and they're committing darkness, man. That this whole thing is dark. It always works out where they get more money, more power, and then more people die, more people are broke, and more. That's all done on purpose. It can only happen so many times where it always goes one way for you to go before you start going, okay, here's a pattern, right? Here's a
Mhm.
pattern of this. And you know what it is? Malachian. It just makes sense to me. I don't know why, man, that shit just resonates with me and that this is the Malachian shit. And, we could sit there, have a discussion on, there was guys out there going, Trump ain't what you think he is. And, a lot of people are always looking for a freaking hero. They always
Mhm.
want a hero, and they, again, they're doing it again with RFK Jr. They need a fucking hero and they're waiting for someone to come save them. And in reality, dude, all these guys, it's like they're just throwing as many things against the fucking wall. And whichever one wins, that's who they go with. And that's
Mhm.
why things going on right now. And that's why we got to stop waiting for here, stop hoping someone comes and saves us. And in our own reality, we have to save ourselves. And that's how it goes. And that's my belief, man. And I'm not perfect. I've made a lot of mistakes in my past, in the past and how I looked at life, love, sex, rock and roll, drugs. I got it all wrong. I'll admit it like to that. And I'm just cleaning up my act. But man, at the end of the day, it's like it's really just love and spreading love. And
Mhm.
you can't change the system. You beat the system, and then the system adapts to you.
Yeah.
You can't change the game. You got to beat the game, and then the game adapts to you. That's how it goes.
Mhm. And
And
one more thing, right? Because we're talking about God and all this stuff. Well, to connect it to JP Morgan and all these guys of the Federal Reserve, right? They put on our money in God we trust, but we assume it's the God that we all know. But it's like, which
might
God
be
are they
their
talking
God.
about? You know, which God are they? Which God are they referring to? You have J.P. Morgan in Jekyll Island, who built the cottage that he has there on top of an old Timucuan sacrificial altar, right? And if you look at the beliefs of the Timucua, which were a Florida peoples, right, and how they committed human sacrifice, and how they saw the hermaphrodite as this two-spirited being that could interact within both parts of the world. And it's like, that sounds interesting. That sounds like something that's going on today, right? That it sounds like you have the alchemists of, you know, the year 2600 BCE impregnating themselves and talking about how they would bear children. It's like, wait, history repeats itself, Sam, over and over and over again. So it's like, okay, but I always thought that was funny that everyone assumes like, yeah, they're talking about, you know, the Christian God. I go, maybe they're not. Maybe, you
Yeah.
know, in gods we trust. Maybe they have a pantheon. I think that the founding father, that's a sort of pantheon that they put on there for everyone to study and to deify. You're talking about the deification of these political figures. I mean, we're back in Egyptian times where the pharaoh was the god, right? It was the actual incarnation of the deity. And I think that RFK, I mean, look what was it, his uncle? Look at what happened to his uncle, bro, and
His
his
uncle
dad.
and his father.
What are you doing, bro? What are you doing, man? Like, you trust the government after it's like it's a science fiction movie, right? There's no way you would even find me anywhere near the political game. And if that was my family history, right? That curse of the Kennedys or whatever it is that they call it. But hey, to each their own. And I mean, I think I don't vote, I don't believe in it. And I think if it even mattered, they wouldn't let you do it. I think that it's all been pre-planned, and all these political figures are traced back their lineage to the guy who signed the Magna Carta. I think it was. I forget his name. But I mean, again,
You
maybe
blew
it's a
my mind
coincidence.
today, bro. You blew my mind today, Juan. One more time. Tell them where they can find you.
TJOJP.com, Juan on Juan podcast on any major podcast platform, YouTube, rockfin.com/the One on One podcast. I got comic books, I got journals. I'm on the cover of a magazine, right? Of 2023, Florida's Home Oncologist, Florida edition, paranormality.com. I got a new little chick track here, the Homunculus Owner's Manual by Paranoid American. First ever homunculus owner's manual ever. I find that on tjojp.com. I appreciate you, Sam. Thank you so much, man.
You always blow my mind every time we talk. Make sure you email me all the links that you've discussed here so I can put it in the um the
Description.
description below. I might put this out for free on the main feed just so people can get this while they're still thinking about the story, because
Mhm.
you've connected some amazing dots. I appreciate you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this. For you who are American, I hope you have a great 4th of July weekend. Enjoy it. Stay with your family. Chill, Bill. Enjoy your life. And thank you so much for another month of support. I love you all very much. We will talk to you soon. Take care, everybody. Have a great holiday weekend.